I'm Dave Butler. It's 2017. Let's look at assets and both HCA and Express Scripts. Let's look really quickly at HCA. Eyeballing the balance sheet on page 5, I see that receivables declined, even though revenues in the P&L on page F3 rose. That suggests quicker collections. I'd try searching for the word receivables to see what I could learn. One thing you'll find when you do that is a metric called days revenues in accounts receivable, which is the same thing as our days sales outstanding. The balance sheet also shows inventories going up 4.4%. That's $1,503,000,000 this year as compared to $1,439,000,000 last year, slightly slower than revenue growth of 4.5%. Similarly, payables grew faster than revenue, 6.8%, from $2,170,000,000 to $2,318,000,000. All three of these trends suggest tight management of working capital. So see what you can find in the annual report and how you can shape those observations into comments or questions to work into a customer contact conversation. HCA doesn't describe any particular efficiency metrics. Despite its obvious shareholder focus, I'm not going to calculate a return on equity because that's going to be a strange number. If you look at the balance sheet on page F5, HCA's equity is negative. It's called stockholders' deficit. On the other hand, HCA does have $34 billion worth of assets, and being in a low-margin business that routinely makes big investments in tools and vehicles and buildings, surely it must care about how efficient it is. So I might calculate an ROA, or return on assets. That's going to be net income from the P&L divided by total assets on the balance sheet for this year and for last year. Anything that causes HCA's profit to rise or its total assets to decline will raise its ROA. I'll leave you to connect the numbers to our previous discussion and think about how you can use this in conversation or in further research. Also quickly, Express Scripts. I won't spell out the details of the math, but here are the results of my cash conversion cycle calculations. In 2015, days inventory of 8 plus days sales of 24 minus days payable of 13 gets us to 19 days. In 2016, days inventory of 8 again plus days sales of 26 minus days payable of 15 gets us to 19 days. On its face, that looks like collecting a little slower from customers and paying suppliers a little slower to compensate while managing inventory consistently. I'll let you go look for more detailed explanations of what happened and formulate questions. While you're at it, take a crack at the calculations yourself and see if you get the same results. If you're shaking your head at the math, remember that I walked through it step by step in the Novo Nordisk Assets film. You're going to use the same line items, do the same calculations here. I searched for the word return in the annual report and I find this chart on page 6. If you focus on just the Express Scripts line, what this is saying is that if you had bought $100 of Express Scripts stock in December 2011, in December 2016 it would have been worth $153.93. Ignore the dividends reinvested language. That just applies to the other two lines, since Express Scripts doesn't pay dividends. But my search doesn't reveal any other particular metrics, so I advise you to take a crack at both return on equity, net income divided by total shareholders' equity, and return on assets, net income divided by total assets. In both cases, whatever Express Scripts does to raise net income will raise the return percentage. ROE will also rise if Express Scripts uses cash to buy back stock. ROA will also rise if Express Scripts can slim down to fewer assets or to a more depreciated asset base. I'll let you make the connections and formulate the talking points.